It's strange, isn't it? How a story can be so clear in your head, so intricately plotted with twists and turns, and yet the one you're living can unfold with such blinding, devastating simplicity? I used to think I was a master of narrative, creating worlds from wood and cloth, breathing life into silence. Now, I see I was just another character in someone else's play, dancing on unseen strings. My name is Daniel. I'm 30, and for as long as I can remember, my hands have found their purpose in creation. Puppets, not the brightly colored, smiling characters of children's television, though I appreciate them too. Mine were different. Intricate, yes. Detailed, full of tiny gears and subtle joints that allowed for a whisper of emotion in a turn of a wooden head, a sigh in the slump of a fabric shoulder. They told stories, my stories, about the quiet struggles of everyday people, about dreams lost and found, about the beauty in vulnerability. I poured every ounce of myself into them, into every carved line, every stitched seam. They were my voice, my heart made visible. I lived in a small apartment in LA, tucked away from the glitz, my space filled with the scent of sawdust, glue, and the faint, sweet perfume of possibility. Oliver, my best friend since college, my stage manager and sounding board, was usually the only other person who truly understood. Or so I thought. Then Cassandra walked into my life. She was a whirlwind, vibrant and ambitious, with eyes that seemed to miss nothing and a laugh that could fill a room. We met at a small, independent arts festival where I was performing. She was an aspiring talent agent, she told me, always on the lookout for the next big thing. She didn't just watch my show, she saw it, or so I believed. After, she approached me, praising my unique vision, my raw talent. Her words were a balm to my ever-present insecurity. I'd always struggled with putting myself out there, letting my art be judged. Cassandra seemed to understand that vulnerability, promising to be my shield, my champion. She made me feel seen, like my quiet, handcrafted world could finally find its place in the sprawling, loud landscape of Los Angeles. She was a vision of sophistication, dressed sharply, always talking about connections and opportunities. I, with my sawdust-dusted hands and perpetually paint-stained clothes, felt an intoxicating thrill being with her. It started subtly, like a shift in the wind you barely notice. In the beginning, she'd come to my small, local shows, always impeccably dressed in the dimly lit venues. She'd offer suggestions, small things, like asterisk maybe a brighter backdrop next time, Daniel. It's a little dark for the audience to fully appreciate the detail. Asterisk or asterisk your stories are so profound, darling, but maybe a quicker pace? People these days have such short attention spans. Asterisk they felt like genuine advice, coming from someone who knew the industry, someone who wanted to help me succeed. I respected her drive, her knowledge of the commercial world I so awkwardly navigated. Oliver, at first, would subtly roll his eyes behind her back or offer a quiet don't listen to her. Man, your stuff is art. But over time, even his comments started to soften, to fade. Soon, her suggestions became more frequent, more insistent. We'd be brainstorming, and she'd interrupt, saying, asterisk your narratives are just so niche, Daniel. It's hard to market that. We need something broader, something with mass appeal. Asterisk my puppets, once celebrated as intricate, were now too complicated, their emotional depth unnecessary. She'd tell me, asterisk people just want to relax, Daniel. They don't want to think so hard. Your shows are too much work for them. Asterisk the joy I felt in crafting a nuanced character, in spending weeks perfecting a single expression, began to curdle into anxiety. I started to second-guess every creative decision. My hands, once so confident, would hesitate. Was she right? Was my passion too self-indulgent? The pressure mounted, like a weight settling on my chest. I remember a specific evening, late, the scent of fresh wood in my small workshop. I was so excited about a new concept, a piece exploring the silent anxieties of urban life, using shadow play and a minimalist score. I'd poured my soul into the initial sketches, discussing it in excited detail with Oliver for hours. When I tentatively pitched it to Cassandra, her face, usually so animated, tightened. Asterisk shadow play? Daniel, darling, that's so community theater. We're trying to elevate your brand, remember? I envision you doing something grand, something spectacular. Think Cirque du Soleil, not a student project. Asterisk, my heart sank. The creative spark, so bright moments before, flickered and dimmed. I felt small, childish. Oliver was there, packing up some props. He cleared his throat, avoiding my gaze, and just said, asterisk, she has a point, Daniel. You need to reach a wider audience. Asterisk, the words felt like a betrayal, a small crack appearing in the foundation of our friendship. The shifts in my work became more pronounced, driven by Cassandra's ever-present guidance. My quiet, reflective puppets gave way to brighter, more exaggerated forms. The intricate stories were simplified, flattened into something more palatable. I started feeling less like an artist and more like a technician, merely executing someone else's vision. My workshop, once a sanctuary of discovery, began to feel like a cage. Cassandra would often remark, asterisk, you're so lucky to have me, Daniel. Most artists never get this kind of guidance. Asterisk, and I believed her. My insecurity, always lurking beneath the surface, grew into a gaping maw, devouring my self-worth. I started to believe I was truly incapable of making it without her, that my raw talent was indeed too raw, too unrefined to ever truly shine. Then came the vision sessions. Cassandra would sit with me, sipping artisanal tea, her laptop open, presenting what she called our shared vision for my career. She'd outline new show concepts, character ideas, even marketing strategies. And with a sickening lurch, I would recognize fragments of my own most private thoughts, my secret ideas, ideas I had only ever shared with Oliver. A specific puppet design I'd sketched in a late-night fever, a unique narrative device I discussed with him over cheap beer, even a particular musical motif. She'd present them, polished and repackaged, as if they were her own brilliant insights, her stroke of genius for my career. I remember one instance vividly. I had been working on a series of puppets, each representing a different kind of inner critic, a tiny, judgmental marionette for self-doubt, a looming, silent figure for fear. I'd found it deeply therapeutic, a way to externalize and understand my own creative blocks. I'd shown the sketches to Oliver, explaining the symbolism, the profound personal meaning. A week later, Cassandra, beaming, pulled up a presentation slide. Asterisk, Daniel, I've had a breakthrough. We need a show that's relatable, right? Everyone struggles with their inner demons. Imagine a series of tiny, expressive puppets, each representing a negative emotion, working against a larger, heroic figure, you. It's brilliant, it's commercial, it's therapy meets entertainment. Asterisk, my stomach dropped. The room tilted. That's exactly what I was working on, I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. She chuckled, a light, dismissive sound. Asterisk, oh, darling, I know you're always playing around with ideas, but I've streamlined it, made it accessible. This is the version that will actually sell tickets. Asterisk, she glanced at Oliver, who was sitting quietly in the corner, ostensibly checking his phone. He didn't meet my eyes. He just mumbled something like, yeah, Cass is really good at seeing the bigger picture, Daniel. A cold knot formed in my gut. I felt a profound sense of disorientation. Was I going crazy? Was I so creatively scattered that I was forgetting my own ideas, only for them to magically reappear, perfected, through Cassandra? She made me feel like my creativity was a wild, untamed thing that needed her to harness it, to make it valuable. She'd often say, asterisk, your raw talent is a diamond in the rough, Daniel. I'm just cutting it, polishing it, so the world can see its true brilliance. Asterisk, I started to doubt my own memory, my own creative ownership. My head ached with the effort of trying to reconcile what I knew I'd created with what she was presenting as her own unique vision. The quiet whisper of my intuition, the one that screamed something is wrong, was constantly drowned out by her confident assertions and my own self-doubt. The air in my apartment felt heavy, thick with unspoken truths. Oliver became increasingly distant, always busy, always deferring to Cassandra. He'd offer quick, non-committal answers if I pressed him about anything, a slight twitch in his jaw the only tell that something was amiss. I felt like I was losing my mind, losing my art, losing my friend. And the worst part was, I felt paralyzed. Cassandra had become so central to my life, to my perceived future, that the thought of questioning her, of standing up for myself, felt like dismantling my entire world. The breaking point arrived with a flourish under the glare of stage lights. Cassandra had arranged a major showcase for me. The showcase, she declared, that would launch my career. I spent weeks preparing, trying to imbue the simplified, commercially viable act she designed with some semblance of my old passion. I felt hollow, a vessel for someone else's dream, but a sliver of hope persisted. Maybe this would work. Maybe this would finally be my breakthrough. The night of the showcase was a blur of nervous energy. The small, intimate theater was packed. Industry people, critics, aspiring artists. My heart hammered against my ribs. I was backstage, hands clammy, the familiar weight of my puppets feeling foreign in my grip. Oliver gave me a quick, strained smile, his eyes darting away. Then Cassandra took the stage. She was radiant, a spotlight magnet. She introduced me, calling me the prodigious Daniel, a raw talent finally ready to explode onto the mainstream scene. My chest swelled with a brief, foolish flicker of pride. Then she started talking about our new direction. We've been working tirelessly to refine Daniel's unique artistry, she announced, her voice echoing through the theater. Asterisk to strip away the unnecessary complexities and present something truly engaging, truly accessible. And tonight, we unveil that vision. Asterisk my breath hitched. My act, which was supposed to be a polished version of my work, hadn't even started. What was she doing? The stage lights shifted, and behind her, a screen lit up, displaying images of puppets. They were mine, but simplified, almost cartoonish. Then, the curtains slowly drew back, revealing a new stage setup, a miniature set I'd never seen before. On it, new puppets moved, animated by unseen hands. And then I saw it. The show. It wasn't mine. It was a commercialized, sanitized version of my inner critic's concept, the one I'd poured my most personal thoughts into, the one Cassandra had claimed as her own breakthrough. The puppets were crude caricatures of my carefully designed figures, their movements exaggerated, the story flattened into a simplistic fable about conquering negative vibes. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a simplified version, it was a perversion. My heart, my therapeutic process, laid bare and mocked by its own commercialization. Then came the words that twisted the knife. And I must say, Cassandra continued, her smile bright. Asterisk, I couldn't have achieved this without the incredible support and insight of Daniel's stage manager and my creative partner, Oliver. He helped us truly refine Daniel's raw talent into something marketable. Asterisk Oliver. He stood in the wings, a shadow. He didn't look at me. His gaze was fixed on the floor, his face pale. In that moment, the entire world snapped into excruciating focus. The subtle changes, the stolen ideas, the knowing glances, his evasiveness, his sudden agreements with Cassandra, it all converged into one gut-wrenching, undeniable truth. Oliver had been feeding her my ideas, my deepest creative secrets, for her to claim as her own, to then use against me. He was complicit. He had betrayed me. My best friend. My head spun. My vision blurred. I felt a wave of nausea, so profound it almost buckled my knees. My hands, still clutching the strings of my puppets, began to shake uncontrollably. And then, Cassandra turned to me, a sweet, almost pitying look on her face as she gestured to the commercialized mess on stage. She leaned into the microphone, her voice carrying through the silent theater, delivering the final, crushing blow. You see, Daniel, she said, her voice dripping with false concern, your artistic integrity alone just isn't enough to make it big. It felt like she reached into my chest, ripped out my heart, and held it up for everyone to see its pathetic, beating inadequacy. Artistic integrity. My entire being. Insufficient. Worthless. Something in me shattered. The hope, the fear, the confusion, all of it evaporated, replaced by a searing, white-hot clarity. This wasn't my breakthrough. This was my public execution. My artistic soul was being flayed alive, and two of the people I trusted most were holding the knives. I didn't say a word. My mouth felt full of sawdust. I simply turned, dropped the puppets I was holding, hearing their dull thud on the floor as if from a great distance. I walked away from the stage, away from Cassandra's triumphant smile, away from Oliver's averted gaze, away from the hushed gasps of the audience. Each step was heavy, each breath shallow. I could feel the eyes on my back, the whispers, but they were distant, muffled. All I felt was the hollow echo of a drum in my chest, a profound, aching emptiness where my heart had been. I left the theater, the showcase, Cassandra, and Oliver without looking back. The LA night air, usually so vibrant, felt cold and mocking. I walked for hours, not knowing where I was going, just needing to put distance between myself and that awful place, that awful revelation. My entire body trembled. I felt utterly violated, creatively suffocated, like a puppet whose strings had been cut mid-performance, collapsing into a heap of useless wood and fabric. The tears came later, in a deluge, soaking my pillow in my small, suddenly vast apartment. I lay there for days, feeling like a ghost in my own skin, unable to eat, unable to sleep, just staring at the ceiling, seeing Cassandra's smug face, hearing her words, feeling the weight of Oliver's betrayal. The world outside my window blurred into an indifferent hum. My puppets, once my solace, now just sat in their boxes, silent witnesses to my humiliation, reflecting my own feeling of being controlled, manipulated, discarded. I felt like a cheap knockoff of myself, a commercialized version of a man who once had passion and purpose. The despair was absolute, a heavy shroud pulled over every flicker of light. I truly believed I was broken beyond repair, that my creativity had been stolen, corrupted, and could never be reclaimed. But then, one day, as I stared at the dusty tools on my workbench, my eyes fell on a small, unfinished puppet head, a jester, half smirking, half crying. It was one of the first pieces I'd ever started, before Cassandra, before the pressure, when creation was pure joy. I picked it up. The smooth wood felt familiar, comforting. I remembered the feeling of carving, the quiet rhythm of shaping something from nothing. And something stirred within me, a tiny ember in the ashes of my creative fire. It was a slow, agonizing process, like learning to walk again after a crippling injury. The first step was leaving Cassandra for good. There was no grand confrontation, no dramatic breakup scene. I simply packed a bag while she was out, left a short, emotionless note, and blocked her number. There was nothing left to say, nothing to salvage. The relationship was a meticulously crafted illusion, and now that the curtain had been pulled back, all I saw was empty space. Oliver, too, I cut out of my life. The wound too deep, the betrayal too profound for any possibility of reconciliation. I isolated myself, needing to heal in silence. I found a part-time job completely unrelated to art, just to keep myself afloat. But the puppets kept calling to me, quietly, persistently. One afternoon, aimlessly browsing online, I stumbled upon a local community center looking for volunteers to teach arts and crafts to children. Something clicked. Children. They didn't care about commercial viability or market appeal. They cared about imagination, about wonder. Hesitantly, I signed up. That first class, surrounded by eager, bright-eyed kids, felt like stepping into a different universe. Their hands, clumsy but earnest, shaping clay, gluing felt, drawing fantastical creatures. It was infectious. I started teaching them simple puppet making, showing them how to bring their wildest dreams to life. Their joy was unadulterated. They praised my magic hands, not because I was famous, but because I could help them create something beautiful. My unique style, my intricate details, suddenly found an audience that celebrated it, not scrutinized it. There was no pressure, no judgment, just pure, unbridled creativity. It was there, amidst their innocent laughter and messy paint, that I slowly began to piece myself back together. The dust began to settle on the fragments of my heart, and new growth emerged. The teaching rekindled my own artistic fire, but this time, it burned with a fierce, independent flame. I started working on a new show, not for an audience, not for agents, but for myself. It was deeply personal, symbolic, a catharsis. It was about a puppet, meticulously crafted, believing it was free, only to discover it was dancing to the tune of an unseen master. The strings were subtle, almost invisible, but they controlled every movement, every perceived choice. The puppet's journey was one of gradual awakening, of discovering the strings, of fighting to cut them, one by one. The climax wasn't a grand, heroic battle, but a quiet, agonizing moment where the puppet chose to fall, to shatter, rather than dance to another's will. And from its broken pieces, a new form emerged, no longer a puppet, but something fluid, unbound, capable of self-directed movement. Creating that show was my true therapy, my reclamation. Every stitch, every carved line, every movement was imbued with my own journey of manipulation, betrayal, and ultimate liberation. When I finally performed it, not in a grand theater, but in a small, intimate space I rented for a few trusted friends and some of the parents from my class, it wasn't about external validation. It was about finally speaking my truth, in my voice, through my art. The sense of profound self-worth that settled over me then, quiet but unshakable, was unlike any fleeting praise or commercial success Cassandra had ever promised. It's been a few years now. I still live in LA, still work with my hands. My workshop is once again a sanctuary, filled with the scent of wood and glue, but now also with the scent of freedom. I teach more now, both children and adults, fostering that pure, uncommercial love for creation. My own shows are few and far between, but each one is a deeply personal expression, true to me, unwavering in its artistic integrity. I haven't heard from Cassandra or Oliver since that night. Sometimes, a fleeting memory of the pain still catches me, a phantom ache in my chest, a reminder of how easily I let someone else pull my strings. But then I look at my hands, calloused and strong, shaping new worlds, and I remember that the power to create and to be free was always mine. I am Daniel, and I am no longer a puppet.